The guitar or bass that you choose is only half the story. The other half lies with the amp. An amplifier is a pretty sophisticated piece of machinery, but there are basically two types, valve and transistor, and two basic setups, combo or stack.
Now, the first that we've got here is a valve combo. This is the classic Vox AC30, as used by groups like the Shadows and the Beatles in the early 60s. However, groups began to play in much larger venues. They needed more power. So, the 4x12 speaker cabinet was developed, and amp stacks like this Marshall became very prominent, used originally by guitarists like Pete Townshend, later on by Jimi Hendrix. Then manufacturers began to develop the transistorized amp. This was compact, light, relatively cheap to produce, and it gave a very good clean sound. However, some guitarists complained of the earlier models that you couldn't really get that warm sound that was associated with the overdriven valve amp. Anyway, they've kept working on the transistorized amps, and this is a modern transistorized combo. It's very versatile, and notice once again we've come back to combos. This is because PAs now are very powerful, efficient. You don't need to project your sound to the back of a large hall. The PA will do it for you.
Having got these two out of the way, we get to the drums. The oldest and noblest of musical instruments. People have got some very funny ideas about the drums. I think they forget just how subtle and expressive they can be. So, let's have a closer look at the kit. The basic kit is divided into four areas. We have the drums themselves, and we have the skins that go on the drums, and these we call heads. Then we have the cymbals, and we have the hardware and pedals. Now, starting with the drums, these are traditionally made from varying numbers of plies of hardwood. Maple, birch, mahogany are all commonly used. And the different manufacturers have worked out different ways of ensuring the perfect roundness of the shell, which is vital to the projection and the sound. The bass drum, this forms the foundation of the kit. The tom-toms, they range right from little 6-inch ones up here, right through to 16-inch, 18-inch, even bigger down this end. The snare drum, this is central to the kit, and we'll be having a close look at that in a moment. Next we come to the heads. These are plastic. The reason they're plastic is because it's much stronger than animal skin, it's more uniform, and it's not affected so much by temperature and humidity. Next we come to the cymbals. Low down here we tend to have the ride cymbals. They're called ride cymbals because you can play rhythms on them like this. As you can hear on this ride cymbal, there's a bell in the centre. And then the hi-hat, again you can play rhythms on them. Higher up we tend to have crash cymbals, which have different weights and sizes, fast crashes. And then again we can have more colourful cymbals like this Chinese one over here. And you can also play ride patterns on this. Finally we come to the hardware. The important thing about this is that it should be really strong and not move, and you should be able to position everything exactly where you want it. And two important bits of hardware, the bass drum pedal, which can have a hard wood or a hard felt beater on it, and the hi-hat pedal. The hi-hats are a horizontally mounted pair of cymbals, and the hi-hat pedal allows you to open and close them and get this sort of rhythm. Now let's have a closer look at the various components which make up the drum kit. The snare drum provides the backbone of the rhythm. It's basically just a shallow tom-tom. But, as you can see, it's got wire snares over the bottom here, which are tensioned via this straining device, so that you get this characteristic snare drum sound. Also, you notice, like in this classic old Ludwig of mine, it's a steel shell, which suits the sharpness of the attack. But, of course, you can have wooden shells, like this one here. The wood's obviously more mellow, and the deeper shell gives you a deeper sound. Then again, at the top end of the market, you can get a brass shell one like this. The brass has obviously got a particular resonance of its own. And then at the other end of the market, there's this remarkable new thing, which is actually a laminated paper shell, and it's got a pre-tuned head. And I can show you the difference in sound that the depth of a shell makes by lowering this onto the drum. So here, fairly deep sound as we go closer, higher, on the shell, a thin sound. Now, moving on to heads, there's been enormous advances in here. These are all basically the same. They're double thickness laminates with an oil film in the middle like this, which has the effect of damping the head quite a lot. They're very popular with rock and funk players. These are probably a bit more familiar. This is an ordinary white head which comes in different weights and thicknesses. The thinner it is, the more resonant it is. And in the middle we have these which are very popular, the pinstripe and the black dot, or donut as it's sometimes called. This black dot again is a damping device, but it's still quite a lively head. There's still quite a lot of resonance coming through. The pinstripe is a little bit more damped, gives a nice blatty sort of funky sound. I like that a lot. Double thickness again. The fibre skin here is an attempt to sort of copy the old warmth of a natural animal skin. And finally, quick move over to the cymbals. Again, a bewildering variety on the market these days. Don't be overwhelmed though, because they're basically serving the same three functions. Crash cymbals for punctuations, right from small splashes like this, right through to different weights and sizes. For instance, this very heavy, almost gong-like crash here, which can be used as a ride as well. A thick one at the top here is almost like a bell. Moving down, we get to the exotic sorts, like these three Chinas. Again, a heavy one. Here, even small ones are coming now. Different sizes, different weights, different qualities. The same here. This is a China with sizzles in it, so you get a long sizzle sort of sound. And down the bottom here we come to the ride cymbals, the third category. This is a very heavy ride, almost gong-like. And by contrast, we have what they call a flat ride, which has got no bell at all in the centre, so you get a very sticky sound, which is very nice, not so many overtones. I can't resist.
In a few seconds, you'll see how really versatile the resident Rock School teacher musicians are, so don't go away. And if you're serious about learning to play, stay tuned, and you'll find out how to get a really thorough home study package. It goes into much greater detail than a half-hour TV program possibly can. Now for Rock School, this is Herbie Hancock saying, more Rock School, please.
As a preview of the weeks to come, we're going to end this week by looking at 3 different musical styles, and we're each going to explain how we get sounds from our equipment. First of all, heavy metal. Now I'm using a guitar this time with humbucking pickups on them, which, as you remember, Gary Moore says makes them much more sustained and more powerful. I'm also turning my amp up a lot louder. The guitar will overdrive the amp, and I could add a distortion pedal as well.
For rock, you want a punchy sound, so I've set the pickup in the middle, and I've got a lot of bass and a lot of middle. I'm going to hit the strings really hard.
The drums, big open sound, lots of cymbals, and you hit them hard. 1, 2, 3.
Now for funk, you can use the same tone, but you're going to hit it this time with the thumb. And you're going to pull with the strings. Now that's quite a trebly tone, so you can take off some of the treble by just hitting this little toy here, the chorus.
On the drums, a much tighter sound. Tight snare drum, tight hi-hat, and a heavy downbeat on the bass drum.
I switched back to using a guitar with single coil pickups because for funk you want the guitar to sound a lot more crisp and light. I've also set the pickups out of phase, and I'm going to use a chorus pedal to space the sound out a bit.
Finally, for a reggae type thing, I haven't got time to tune the toms down, so I'm going to use this Tim Riley and some rim clicks, and again a very tight hi-hat.
For reggae, you want to get a sharp cutting guitar sound, so I've switched to the bridge, that is the treble pickup.
For bass, you want a heavy, heavy bass. So I'm putting the pickup on full bass, and I'm going to my amp, and I'm putting everything on full. No treble, just heavy bass.